My name is Grace Gladys Famarillo, also known as Grace the Author, and I'm going to be doing, just sharing with you some information that has made a radical difference to my own life, as well as those of my clients. So I'm going to be talking about how to create more income and become an expert using what you already know. Okay, so how to create multiple incomes and generating more wealth than you've probably done before, like the pros do. So sometimes we see those Facebook adverts and whatnot, and people saying, hey, you know, this is what I'm doing. So it's about sharing with you some things that I've learned along my journey, as well as some of the things that I have shared with clients for a number of years. And so I'm hoping you'll get some value out of this. Now, I've shared a link in terms of information where you can get some more information. So there's a free book, my book, Writing Secrets, absolute must for anybody planning to write any book whatsoever. Grab it, it's free of charge. It's my little gift for you for tuning in with me this evening. Okay, so the chances are you've turned up here because you have a desire to create more wealth, create more multiple incomes. It's one of the key things I get asked time and time again. In fact, just yesterday, somebody sent me a message on LinkedIn to say, you know what, how do I create and sell and make a profit out of my contents that I've created? And it's a valid response, that question that people have. And so what I want to do is just unpack it a little bit, just to give you some insights. Now, there's only so much I can share on this journey, but when you connect with me, and I'll share with you how you can do that, you will find more information about how you can start your own content creation, but more importantly, profitable content creation. Okay, so first and foremost, I just wanted to start off by saying, you know what, the chances are you've been to webinars. We all do it. Go to loads of them, webinars, training courses. We do a whole load of things, and we basically trying to learn more information, and perhaps maybe you've gathered so much information and you haven't been able to make much progress with that information. If that's where you are, don't worry about it. Today is really about starting you on a journey. So just put all that information aside. And I also recognize that there's a lot of experts out there, so perhaps you've done one training program or the other and you're confused. You just don't know where you're going with all of this. Don't worry about it. Again, put all that information aside. What I'm hoping to do here is, because we're coming to that time of the year whereby it's Q4, and some people have probably started the year with one goal or the other, saying they want to do X, Y, Z, and perhaps you're thinking, oh, you haven't done anything, or you haven't quite hit your targets yet. Again, I'm going to ask you to put all of that aside. Knowledge is power, and what we're trying to do here today is give you the information so that you can start making perhaps some mind shifts. In fact, that's one of the focuses I'm going to be spending time on here today. It's about mind shifts, making different mind shifts and how can I put it? Changing your belief systems to support you in terms of achieving some of your goals. So forget the fact that, okay, resolutions that you set in January and whatnot are not, nothing seems to be happening with them. That's fine. Just put that aside for now. And I just want you to just hear what I have to say. We haven't got long, but I'm just going to, whisk through some of the things that I've been working on myself, as well as sharing with my clients in terms of making steps in the right direction when it comes to your goals, in particular your multiple income goals. Okay, so just a little bit of background about myself. A number of you might know that I'm a published author. I've been published traditionally, in the traditional sense, for a publishing house. I've also self-published a number of books. Some of them you might be able to see behind me on my shelf, but I've published and I've written, at the moment, it's about 7, and there's like a shed load more coming. Some of them include Overcoming Emotional Baggage, Healing Discouraged Heart, also another book titled Great Covers Sell Books, which is really to support individuals who are creating content so that they can package their content in a way that will actually help you sell. And so convert prospects into customers and perhaps even raving fans. Okay, so but more importantly, some of the things that I've been doing over the years, for at least since 2000, has been about equipping women with the skills, and also empowering them so that they can go out there and live the life that they want, but more importantly, also live financially independent. Now, I remember back in the day, as far as back as 2000, you know, we'd gather in a hotel in London, and I'll share some principles to support women just starting to take action and moving themselves forward. And, you know, a number of women who've come to those programs have literally turned their lives around. And that's just, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. And I am so proud and honored to be able to be part of that journey. Now, some of the signature programs that I've been doing for the last, oh, God knows how many years, it's been such a long time, but one of them is my signature book writing mastery system, where I've typically take women on a weekend. We will literally, you know, unpackage their book idea, and by the end of that weekend, they would have started their writing journey. And that's one of the things I'm so passionate about, because I get so many questions from people saying, how do I write a book? Okay, and then another one is my self-publishing blueprint. So for those people who are wanting to get their books out there and not necessarily wanting to go down the traditional route, I have a step-by-step program whereby you can literally get your book out there that quick without having to wait for the slush piles and whatnot. So those are the kind of things that I've been doing. But more recently, around the Grace the Author and the multiple income women, it's about working with key influencers, bloggers, consultants, experts, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, and people like that who have ideas or a certain skill set or expertise, or they have particular passions and or gifts or talents, whichever way you want to call that. And it's about helping them translate that from that idea or that concept into profitable assets. So I call them profitable assets, which is all around what they create. Okay, so profitable assets, and then taking it from that point to help them create what I call an ecosystem of products and services that add value to customers. So they add value, so not the wishy-washy kind of stuff that sometimes we all see out there, but really great stuff that would add value to their customers, but more importantly also then sets them actually as an expert. And I have a story to tell you. I'll share that with you later on. So, okay, let's dive into this. The first thing I want to do, and I think this is a key thing, that when we're talking about mindsets and moving forward, it's quite key to make sure that our minds are in the right place in terms of moving forward, in terms of finding new ways of creating revenue and so on and so forth. So it's really important, and I really wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about some of the mindsets that I've found that when these in particular are missing, you would struggle. You would really struggle if you don't make these mind shifts. So I really want to start this journey by just laying a really simple foundation. I call it simple because it is quite simple when you hear it, but it's something that has really made a phenomenal difference in the life of a number of people when they put it into play. Okay, so let me start. Now, there are two basic reasons. I'm going to start by sharing that there are two basic reasons why perhaps you haven't reached your own multiple income goals or your financial goals, or in fact, we can even take it even further, you know, in terms of your professional goals or whatever it is. There are certain things that just need to be in place, but I'm going to hone in. Let me just rein it right back in again. I'm going to hone it into around the income goals around multiple incomes. And here are some reasons why a number of us are not at that level yet. Now, this is reason number one, and I learned this from the late Dr. Miles Monroe. Some of you might know Dr. Miles Monroe, but he's a fantastic transformational coach, mentor, motivational speaker. He shared a load of books, but fantastic guy. He shared some really powerful principles. Now, one of those principles I learned was the fact that creators and producers rule our world today. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Creators and producers rule our world today. Now, take a step back and just think about it. You're watching this through some form of device. So whether it be your computer, whether it be a phone, whatever it is, you are watching through a device that somebody has produced or created. Okay, so let's take a step back and think of the clothes you're wearing, the watches you wear, the food you eat, and a whole raft of, if you just look at your whole world, you will notice that it's surrounded by things and services. In fact, let's call them products and services that people have created. Now, the reality is creators and producers rule the world. Why? Because you are actually a consumer. You've actually, that thing you're wearing, you're holding, you've eaten, whatever it is, you have actually eaten that from a producer or a creator. And when you're in that mode, remember, so if you think of some of the, I don't want to mention any brand names, okay, but if you think of some of the real big brand names, you know, things you see on TV, on adverts, you get my drift, right? They are things somebody at some point has invested the time, effort, energy, you know, to look into that, take the thing from an idea into, you know, something that they've done some research and development on, and they've done so many different things around that, and they have then paid the price and created a product or a service which you are now benefiting from. And what they've actually done, and it's a simple principle, what they've actually done is use that idea, that original concept, what they've actually done is added value to it and then offered it, you know, to us. Okay, so I've got my computer in front of me here. I've exchanged my money for value, okay, so that I can get that thing that that person's offering. And this, I'm going to keep re-emphasizing this point here now. It's about, for us to start experiencing multiple incomes and doing all the different, generating incomes from different sources, we're going to have to make that mind shift from being a consumer to becoming a creator or a producer, creating something that you can then exchange for as a form of value to somebody else. So somebody will pay you as a result of whatever it is. And I'll share a bit more about that later on, but it's just really key that you get that concept around being a creator and a producer. Now, as I say, one of the things you'll also notice is that all those people who are creating content or creating services or creating products, guess what they're doing? If you notice, they are all offering a solution of some sort. Okay, so let's go back to the idea about the device that you're using. Okay, so assuming you're watching this for a phone or for whatever it is that you're watching from, the reality is they've identified that somebody somewhere needs a solution of a particular kind. So, for example, I'll use mine as an example. I need a computer. It's, in fact, a laptop. I can carry it around with me when I'm, you know, when I'm going all over the place. I can work from it. I can watch movies from it. I can do so many things. What they've discovered is the fact that there are going to be some people, whether it be freelancers or whether it be people at home, whether it be people, you know, at home offices, or whether people who are going from meeting to meeting, who are going to need a portable device. Now, I'm hoping that you get my drift here. What the producers and the creators have done is created something that offers a tangible solution to somebody. Okay, and the reason why I'm going to emphasize the tangible solutions, because I sometimes get individuals, okay, for example, a classic thing, you know, people come to me to say they want to write a book. Okay, fantastic, great, yay, you want to write a book. So, okay, what's the book about? I had one lady tell me, okay, I just want to empower women. Okay, that's a great start. So what do you want to do? How specifically are you going to do that? Well, I just want to encourage them and empower them. And, you know, all those kind of fluffy words come out, you know, to play. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But we're living in a world whereby people are buying solutions. Your potential customer want a solution. So what is it that you're trying to tackle? Are you trying to help them start a business? Are you helping them overcome a particular mindset or belief system? What are you trying to do? And I'm emphasizing this point here because every one of us, when we start to look at the notion of multiple incomes, when you're thinking about your idea, it really needs to offer a solution, because people, i.e. consumers, buy solutions. Okay, so I'm hopefully that I've with that point, and hopefully that's helping you just to start to change some of the mindsets that you might have. So if you're not creating, guess what? The chances are you are a consumer, completely consumer. So you might say, oh, but that's the reality. Let me give you four indicators that you might be caught in the consumer trap. Okay, so you consume more than you create. Okay, so that's an indicator. I mentioned earlier on, if you think of the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the devices you use, the software you use, products, skincare, beauty, whatever it is, if you are constantly using, as opposed to you actually creating something and offering it, that you fall into the consumer trap. It's not a bad thing, and I'm not saying everybody should go out there and become a farmer or a designer or whatever. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that you need to start seeing yourself as a creator or a producer and start creating something. Now, some people are probably thinking, I've got nothing. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Okay, so one of the things I love doing when I was working with people, especially on the one-to-one, is helping them identify their skills, their expertise, their gifts or talents, their passions, and even their life experiences, because sometimes people say, well, I've got nothing to offer. And by the time we unpackage it, you then realize, well, actually, you've got a lot. Now, this is, let me just throw this one in there. For anybody who's thinking of writing a book, especially one which is of the memoir genre, let me just tell you right now, okay? As much as we all would love to read your life story and all the things that's gone on with you, I always say this to clients, especially potential clients, when we're having that first dialogue. Unless you have a story that is so media worthy at the moment, or so topical that you can kind of use it you can basically ride the waves of the media to help you get that book out, you're going to struggle to sell that book, because it's just about your life story. But what I tend to do with individuals in particular is helping you convert that life story and repackage it into something, remember the word creating value by offering a particular solution. So we might discover that through your life experiences, you've overcome X, Y, Z, you've achieved X, A, B, C, and so on. And before we know it, we actually have the makings of a phenomenal book that would make a phenomenal difference to the lives of people who need solutions around that niche or that subject that you're offering. So I just throw that one in there for free. I just wanted to tell you that. So first and foremost, look at to see whether you've fallen into the consumer trap. Are you consuming more than you creating? If that's the case, you might need to make that shift. Number two, you're what I call a spectator or a stargazer. Okay, what do I mean by that? Simple. Okay, you might spend a lot of your time, maybe on social media, flicking from one video to the other, watching somebody else's life and thinking, oh, that's a nice outfit. Oh, they got married. Oh, they had a child. And you're just flicking it. And before you know it, the whole evening's gone. All you've just done is just stargaze or watch other people living their own lives. And sometimes when we're not careful, all you've done is you've literally spent your time consuming content. In fact, I'm going to throw another bit into that equation here. That also includes watching or being part of endless, webinars and conferences and all these things that we kind of get ourselves involved in. But you never flip it around on its head. Take what you've learned and create something out of it. You're a consumer, if that's you. Okay, so to stargazing or spectating. But I give a really good example. I'm so what's the word? Purpose driven. My passion in life is literally to fulfill my purpose. Leave all my gifts on this earth and leave a legacy behind and support other people. And I'm so focused on that. So focused on that. Driven, perhaps even. I'm so focused on that because I realize that it's a privilege to be alive and we just don't know tomorrow. So I'm going to make the best of use of today. And I remember when I was writing the book Healing a Discouraged Heart, I'd finished writing it. It'd been edited and it's been typesetted, and it was about to go to the printers on the Monday morning. Now, here was I on a Saturday morning. It was a royal wedding. I'm not going to say which one, but this is a few years ago, so I'll leave it to your imagination. It was a royal wedding, and I had a choice. I had a choice to sit with everybody else and watch this wedding, or get my head down, proofread my book, and make sure that it was adding value to the people who I'm serving, and so that there are also no mistakes in it, and then so that it can then go to the printers without any drama or any errors and whatnot. And I had to make a choice, and I decided, actually, you know what, rather than stargazing or watching other people live their lives or create history, I decided that Saturday I was going to create history of my own by creating my own content. Now, can you see the difference? Because I can always go on YouTube or whatever and see what happened, see what happened with the wedding or whatever. I'm using that as an example just to say this, that there's sometimes there will be a price to pay to get to turn your idea into content and packaging it in a way that offers solutions to people. There is a price to pay, just like, all the, the gentleman, his name skips my mind. Is it Thomas Edison? I think it's Thomas Edison, who who did the light bulb. We've been told that it took over 1,000 experiments before he found the right material for the light bulb. That's dedication. And sometimes we might need to consider the importance of what we're trying to do by actually investing in what we're trying to create or produce. Okay. And another thing that you should also be aware of when it comes to being caught in the consumer trap, and this is something I see time and time again. It's happened to me, and it's happened to, in fact, it happened to a lady that I met recently, whereby we're kind of forever sharing, but never creating. Now, what do I mean by that? So this particular lady was telling me how, she'd always, gets phone calls all the time, people asking, how do I do this? How do I do that? So she's constantly at the end of the phone or maybe a coffee, helping people achieve something. But there was one issue with that, whereby she was doing all of that, pouring out, but never having the time to create her own content that could add value to people. And so she sat there thinking, actually, you know what, I've put so many of my goals and dreams aside because I never had, I didn't have the structure in place to support others, but carry on with my own goals. And this is one of the reasons why I would always encourage people, especially when you have a specific gift or expertise, the chances are you're always going to be getting people saying, well, how do you do this? For example, I get people who stop me maybe after a speaking engagement and say, how do I write a book? And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not sure how to break this down to you. I've got a master's in publishing. I have spent the last nearly 20 years as a columnist. I've been writing articles and books. You're going to need to help me out here. We've only got 5 minutes. I can't help you in 5 minutes. However, one of the things I discovered in terms of how in helping people, if I was to create a product, that I can easily say to that person, look, go and get this, download this. In fact, that's why you notice on this Facebook Live, I put in a link in there, book writing secrets. By all means, grab yourself a copy and get the value out of it. Simply, so going back to that scenario of that lady I was talking about, I said to her, well, how about actually creating a free ebook? So when somebody asks you on you can just say, you know what, here's a link, go and download it. If you need further support, get back to me. So I'm saying all of this to say these are some of the reasons why we are not in a creator or producer mindset. It's because we're either consuming or we're pouring out and never having the time for ourselves to actually create valuable products or services that we can actually use to then generate multiple incomes for ourselves. So there's no guilt here. I'm not trying to make anybody feel funny or guilty. All we're saying here is just think about your mindset. Are they driving you towards becoming a multiple income earner, or is it driving you away? Okay. And by the way, you might even need to look closer to home. If the things like social media, and other distractions like TV, binge watching TV, and those things, if they are a distraction, do something about it. I got, I think it was, I can't remember, it must have been less than a year now. I actually made a decision. I actually canceled my digital TV subscription because I thought, number one, I'm not watching it because I'm too busy creating content. Number two, I just, I just don't buy into that anymore. I've got so much to do, and rather than, sitting there just binge watching TV, I mean, there's a time and place for everything. If I'm tired and I need some time, I'll put on a movie or go to the movies. But I'm just saying, if there's certain distractions that are going to hinder you from moving forward, now is a good time to reassess that. Okay, so how can we move from being a consumer to a creator? Okay, so how can we move from being a good consumer to a creator? So going back to my favorite author again, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, this is what he says. He says, do you want to be successful? Make yourself a person of value, and people will pay you for your value. Let me repeat that. Dr. Miles Monroe says, do you want to be somebody of value or somebody who's successful? Make yourself a person of value, and people will pay you for your value. Now, isn't that, it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? Make yourself somebody of value. Now, how do you make yourself somebody of value? Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so let's start with the first thing. The first one, as I said earlier on, there needs to be a change in your mindset. If you are still going to remain on the camp of the consumer than on the producer, you're going to struggle with this. I guess I'm hoping that I've done that bit. You've gotten that. Consumer, no. Creator, yes. Okay. And if you're trying to gauge yourself in terms of whether you are creating or consuming, just look at what you're doing, spending your time. And some people might say, well, actually, I work. That's fine. At work, you can still create. They still require entrepreneurial professionals in the workplace. In fact, R&D departments, design departments, all those, a lot of departments, marketing, a lot of those departments are creating things. Now, just because you also, let me just add this one there, just because you're also working for somebody doesn't also mean you can't have your own thing on the side. Because we all know that these days a job, number one, doesn't always give us the disposable income or the lifestyle that we want. So you might also want to think about what can you do to add to the to your income that's already coming in, and that's what we're talking about here. So it doesn't have to be like you quit your job tomorrow. It might be for some people, but you might need to think about what can you do on the side, and that's why the idea about stargazing is not going to work, because you're just wasting time. Okay, time is precious. So the next thing, number two, how can we move from being a consumer to being a creator? Okay, step number two, make yourself more valuable. Okay, for some people that might mean going to get a qualification, education. So for example, let me use myself as an example. I've been writing for so many years, and in fact, I've been not only just writing, but also self-publishing a number of my books, before one day I just thought, actually, I've been doing this through the knowledge I've gleaned through the experts I've been working with. However, I would really like to learn the trade. And so, as you do, I took a year off work. Actually, it turned out to be a bit more than a year. I took a year off work, and I went to go and do an MA in publishing, one of the best years of my life, in Cambridge. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, many years after the first masters. God, it was a bit hard work, but it was fun and it was worth it. And why did I do that? Because number one, I was getting a lot of people saying, "Well, you publish your book. Can you publish my book too?" And on the surface, I can easily say absolutely, and I could have done it, because I create quality books. That's really my passion. Quality books that offer value. That's what I do. And so I went back to university, and so people say, well, why did you do that? Well, because apart from the fact that people are asking me to help them do this, I wanted to learn the trade and learn it well. And so, you know what? I came top of the year, won a couple of awards, for doing so. My project won the best dissertation, the best project, shall I say, in the country. for that year. So yay. Okay, so as I told you, it was a fantastic year for me. But that's how I added value to myself. So I'm constantly, whether it be getting qualifications, it could be reading a book, it could be attending a webinar with purpose. Remember, not just constantly going from one webinar to the other, but it's about adding value to adding value. And another thing to think about is when you talk about making yourself valuable is, well, what do you already have? Now, I always say to clients, what's that in your hands? A lot of us already have things in our hands. So by the time I went to do the publishing, I was already writing, publishing, coaching and training other people how to write and publish. So I was already doing things. So I'm saying this to say you don't have to go back to university. You don't have to go and do another course. The chances are you have a skill, expertise, a talent, a passion, or a life experience that you can actually translate into valuable content. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can actually make yourself valuable. But the reality is, a number of us, we are what's the word? We are blinded to our own strengths. What you can do with your eyes closed. So, for example, if you were to wake me up in the middle of the night, there are a couple of things I can probably do without even rehearsing or even thinking about it. I can talk to you about overcoming emotional baggage, because that's one of my passions, and resilience and so on and so forth. So I don't even need to be stirred in any particular direction. I can just wake up and do it. I'm passionate about books, about covers, about the layouts, about publishing. So these things, until I brought them to the forefront of my mind and realized, oh, actually, this is a skill, you know, especially when people keep asking, like, how do you write a book? How do you sell your content? I then thought, actually, this is something of value that people are asking questions about. Remember, I said earlier on, solutions is what people are looking for. They are looking to get from A to B, and they need you to help them. So my question to you is, what is that in your hands? The chances are you've got something or the other that you can offer. A passion, a skill, a gift or a talent, an area of expertise. So for example, and by the way, I don't just mean expertise as in, you know, within the professional world. Actually, no, I'll take that back. It could be cake making, okay? It could be hair. It could be makeup. It could be something creative. It could be project management, looking after children. In fact, I was speaking to a lady I met, we had a meeting the other day, and you know, she was telling me about her phenomenal job she had in the police force as a senior negotiator. And I thought, wow, you know, I haven't met, you know, somebody who'd climbed such a high echelon within the police force. But, you know, one of the key things is around communication. And I thought, fantastic. Now, it was amazing because as we started to talk, we started to, that whole book that she was considering writing for, call it her younger self, so women who are coming up in the police force, you know, so, you know, we could actually translate that same concept into so many different areas in terms of communication. So this is what I'm saying here. Don't put down anything that you've got or you've experienced or that you've, you know, anything at all that you have, you know, amassed over time. They're all valuable. What you need to do is just think about how you package that in a way that will offer value and that will produce income. Because remember, we said earlier on, people, consumers are exchanging their finances, their money, for what they consider is value. Okay, so there's an exchange there. The value versus, you know, the money. So they're paying you, the person of value, because you have something of value to offer. So that's number two. Number three, it's about packaging your value. So there are many ways to do this. And one of the simplest ways I always encourage everybody to do, especially if you're the kind of person where people say, oh, that is so good. Oh, I wish I could do what you do. Or, you know, can you teach me how to do that? Or, you know, they have questions about whatever it is that you do. Simple thing. Get an ebook written. Simple. It could just be a few thousand words. It could be even longer than that. Write an ebook, and even better still, have a printed version, because some people still, like me, we still like the look and feel of books. Okay, so it's about packaging that. So it's one thing to have an idea, and this is where, you know, when I'm working with my clients, I really love doing. It's about thinking about the idea, okay, and how do we translate that idea that you have into something of value, something tangible, and something that will bring a profit when somebody exchanges their money for the solutions that you're offering. So I keep emphasizing the word solution, because it's not just, oh, this is my journey about, me as, as a coach. Rather, how about writing a book for maybe a segment of the market to say, maybe the 18 to 25-year-olds who are coming into the coach, who want to launch their coaching practice. What are some of the things that they should be doing? So you might want to say 7 keys for success for coaches in a specific niche, whatever it is. You can start to see what I'm saying here. It's about packaging it right. And another benefit of having a book is the fact that you then get considered or positioned is the right word, as an expert. So if you notice, whether it be a journalist looking for more information or somebody looking to invite somebody on a TV or radio show, they tend to look at authors. They tend to look at people who are positioned as experts. Now, nobody will know that you're an expert or have something of value to offer if you keep it hidden. If we don't see it, no one's ever gonna know. So, simple thing, it's about creating that stuff, and before you know it, I'll tell you a story later on, but it's about helping you identify what you have, your value. I'm going to call it your value. So in fact, sometimes I call it your gems or your inner assets. I love that word. Your inner assets. It's about putting those together and then using that to create something. And then also the third, there's another benefit to that, because when you start to do that, so you start to see yourself as a creator and start to create things, guess what? Opportunities happen. Now, I'm going to save this story to the end, so I'm not going to jump ahead of myself, but it really does work. So we've talked about so far, how can you move from being a consumer to a creator? So the first thing I said is about changing your mindsets, how you think. The second one was about making yourself valuable. The third one was about packaging your value. Okay. And the last one is really about focusing on your niche. Now, let me give you a scenario. So when somebody comes to me to say they want to write a book, and I say, well, who's your audience? Who are you writing for? What do you think the answer is? Okay, more often than not, especially if it's somebody who's probably hadn't had a foray in writing before, the answer is everybody. But really? Okay, let me break it down to you. Is everybody going to need your book? The chances are no. So why am I saying this? You need to identify who your market is. And one of the best ways to do that is to have a niche. In fact, they used to say, have a niche. I actually say, go deeper down another level and have what I call a micro niche. Why? Because if you have a niche, so for example, let's talk about personal development. Okay, so I don't even need to begin to, I've mentioned Dr. Miles Monroe. There are so many gurus out there in the world of personal development that you will get lost. Okay, it's not to say that you shouldn't go for it. What I'm saying is, okay, in personal development, you can have so many sub niches. You can actually become an expert in that sub niche and therefore be seen as the go-to person for a particular thing. So, for example, even before I started the Grace the Author, I had an academy. I've always been a writer, speaker, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I have certain books around mindset changing, you know, books around emotional well-being, resilience, dealing with unforgiveness and all those kind of things. And, you know, I wrote those because when I started to coach my clients back in a day, so as I said, where are we now? Probably 23 years ago. Okay, when I started off, you know, coaching with the clients, when I was trying to get them to start creating things, you know, becoming financially independent and starting their businesses and so on, there was always some form of baggage or issue. And that's how kind of got me on that journey to start writing about that. So if anybody feels like they're struggling with their emotional well-being or being resilient, not being able to deal with setbacks, disappointments, maybe you're struggling with unforgiveness, bitterness, maybe you've had breakdowns in relationships, there's a shed load of books. You know, if you just go on to GladysF.com, but I'll just type that there now. So www.gladysf.com. You know, you can get some information about that there. Okay, so So it's really about creating value for yourself and positioning yourself as an expert. And as I said earlier on, it's about finding what your niche is. So don't try and compete with the big boys or the big girls. You know, find your niche. So for example, let's use the weight loss. You know, under weight loss in itself, there's just so many things you can do with weight loss. You know, weight management, weight loss, so many. Okay, you know, and you could actually think about creating maybe a niche for weight loss for people who are getting married very soon. So they've got 6 weeks and they want to do a 6-week boot camp. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Now sometimes out of fear we think, well, no, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to narrate that, you know, that narrow it down to such a micro niche because we're afraid that there won't be enough people in the market. Trust me, just go to any bridal show or anywhere, you know, one of the key things you'll be hearing is women and men want to look good on their wedding day. So part of that journey might be to shed some weight. Okay, so you will never run out of people to serve. Now I'm using that as an example just to help you understand help you understand that, you know, you can actually offer value by really narrowing down to a sub niche or a micro niche where you can then offer value. Okay. So let's move forward in terms of our journey here. So I mentioned I was going to talk to you about a particular case study. Now, this is a typical relationship that I had with one of my clients. Now, this person came to me to say that they wanted to write a particular book. And we started that journey together, taking the whole idea, breaking it down, unpackaging it, and then looking at the market that she was writing that book for and making sure that it will offer value and offer solutions. And we did a fantastic job, if I may say so myself. You know, the book's going to be out there soon. But one of the things that, you know, I mentioned earlier on about, you know, exchanging our expertise for value. Exchanging our expertise for something of value that can then bring us multiple income. Now, from the time this particular person started the journey, just writing, nothing else, just writing their book, the opportunities that have come have just literally blown my mind to the point whereby I've said to her, it's a her, by the way, that we need to get a video and record your success, because she stood up and stepped up. Okay, she stood up and stepped up. She stepped up to the plate. She showed up. She decided she was going to write this book. In fact, it's her baby. She calls me her book midwife. Okay, so speaking engagements all of a sudden were coming to play. She was getting so many opportunities. In fact, got to a point whereby just halfway through the journey, she literally quit one of her roles because she was getting so much she was getting so many opportunities coming her way. In fact, just not too long ago, she was telling me that 2 weeks ago, actually, she was telling me, apart from the fact that, you know, getting engagements for really key opportunities within her niche, she's just been paid a big sum of money. That's how I'm going to put it, a big sum of money to create content around her book and her niche. Now, can you imagine if this was somebody who kept saying, oh, 2019 is going to be the year I'll write the book. Oh, you know, maybe 2020, you know, it will never happen. And, you know, so I'm using that as an example to say that when we step up and show up, just like Dr. Miles Monroe said, and we decide to become a person of value, the opportunities that come as a result of that are just outstanding. I mean, I can spend a whole year telling you of my journey for the last 23 years on how opportunity upon opportunity has come, simply because I just decided part of my purpose was about creating content, books, online training, doing seminars, doing workshops, doing retreat programs, but using what I already know to share with other people. And that's literally my journey. And that's what I really, you know, I love doing that with my clients. So how can you help people? How can you help people? Now, remember, you've got your multiple income mind on at the moment. How can you help people. Now, I need you to understand that there's some basic things that people want in general. In fact, 3 basic things. People want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Okay, let me repeat that. Happier, wealthier, and oh, sorry, let me say that again. God, I'm confused. Healthier, wealthier, and happier. Okay, so the 2 H's: healthier, happier, and wealthier. So when you got your creator mindset on, you need to be thinking around what can you create that will tick one or more of those boxes. It doesn't matter if it's just the one box. What can you do to help people become happier? What can you do to help people become healthier? What can you do to help people become wealthier? Now, within that whole scope, practically everything that is currently around at the moment fits under those boxes. Okay, so healthier, fitness gurus, tablets to lose weight, so many things. Happier, maybe massages and beauty treatments and, you know, holidays, all sorts of things. There's just so many things that people would pay money for to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. So the onus is on you. What can you start to do that will tick in those boxes? So some of your offerings can be around the following. Maybe you're helping them solve a particular problem. So I've used the example of the weight loss. The bride, 6 weeks to get married, needs to lose a stone. I'm not sure, actually, I'm sure that's possible. But anyway, you get my drift, right? Needs to lose weight quickly. Okay, another example could be maybe a new parent struggling with trying to get the child to sleep. It's like, what do I do? Help. You know, so people are looking for real solutions. And if you can offer them that, you've really ticked the box. Okay, so maybe helping people solve their problems, helping their lives, helping them live better lives, helping them achieve something that they're currently struggling with, helping people, giving them the tools to improve themselves, giving them tools to make life easier for themselves, helping them feel good, feel better about themselves, motivating them, inspiring. I mean, there's a whole list of things, and this is just an example. You know, I'm just sharing a couple of things that you can actually start to do that can help them. And one of the best places, as I said earlier on, is literally just put your ideas or your expertise or your passions, just put it on paper. Start there. Put it on paper. In fact, I'll give you a challenge. This is what I do to my clients when I first start working with them and they want to write a book. I'm like, great, fantastic, but I need you to do one thing for me. I need you to start writing. And one of the ways I ask them to do that is through writing a blog. Now, you might say, well, what's the point? I want to write a book. Well, number one, it serves many purposes. Number one, you develop your writing muscle. So just like going to the gym, you know, you're doing your press ups and your lateral pull downs and your, you know, all the things that we do in the gym, right? It's building your writing muscle. And trust me, when I say, when I look at some of the articles I wrote 20 odd years ago, and I look at some of the things I'm writing now, I'm like, whoa, there's been an improvement. Okay, it does that. Number two, by writing a blog, or you might decide you want to do vlogging, which is a video blogging. So maybe using the likes of YouTube. What you're doing is you're creating content. And you know what? The good thing about Google and all the algorithms is it begins to link you with the subject that you're talking about. So before you know it, so for example, if you're to Google overcoming emotional baggage, I will probably show up. In fact, not probably, I've done this quite a few times. I show up on the first page because I have worked selflessly for the last, I think it's nearly 15 years now, to, you know, in terms of the work that I do of overcoming emotional baggage. So one of the things, so when people Google the subject area, guess what? They find you. And to them, you are the expert. And that's how it starts. Okay, so one of the things I would ask you to do is get your ideas down on paper, because until you start that journey, you know, nothing much is going to happen. Now, if you're thinking, I've never written a book before, I don't know, don't worry. There's a link that I've shared earlier on, and I'll share it again, which is literally, you know, some really core things. I believe it's 4 points, 4 powerful points in that book, in the book Writing Secrets, that would, an ebook, sorry, and it's free of charge, by the way, where you can actually learn the basics, very basic. It's not going to solve all the, you know, teach you how to write, but there's some core things that you need to put in your book when you are writing in terms of trying to create content that will be profitable, that you'll be able to offer as value and then be paid for. There's some things that needs to be in there. So by all means, get that free book. So coming towards the end now, so what are some of the things that can stop you from getting on this multiple income journey? Let me share a couple of things that I've discovered, both in my life and in the life of people I've worked with. And, you know, it's about finding what your stumbling block is and dealing with it. First one is overwhelm, okay? So maybe you've done this course, you've done somebody else's course, you've got another webinar booked coming up, and it's like, oh, too much information, paralysis, not doing anything. Stop, okay? Stop. Pick one guru to follow and just follow them. Don't try and subscribe to everybody. In fact, one of the things I tend to do quite regularly is, in addition to just having one particular email account where I subscribe for things that I feel that will be of value to me, you know, every so often, unsubscribe, because it's becoming a distraction and it is taking me off my journey to living purposely, okay? Overwhelm. Number two, working alone. Now that's one of the biggest issues that people have, because, you know, it could be that you're isolated, you don't necessarily know who to partner with, you've not got a community of maybe other writers, or you've fallen into the trap that I call the I know it, those 3 words. I know that. And because you think you know that, you don't seek help. And that's where a lot of people tend to make a lot of mistakes. In fact, a lot of times I get people sending me their new books or their covers, you know, and they're saying, Grace, you know, review it for me or tell me what you think. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm opening it, I'm thinking, okay, errors, okay, layout problems, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm going to be brutally honest here. You're going to need to go back to the drawing board. Because there's just too many things. And then they sometimes they come to me and say, okay, how can I sell this book? And I'm like, this product needs to be worked on. It's not something that people will exchange. Remember the value exchange, you're giving them value and they're going to pay you for it. And I generally get a lot of people, you know, who'd come my way, whether it be, you know, send me a message on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and say, you know, I've managed to sell 10 copies to my mom and my family and friends. How can I sell more? And, you know, when they send me the content, I'm like, you know, we need to work on this, okay? So it's a really powerful, it's a really important thing about working, making sure that you're with the right network. That's the word I'm looking for. The right network, the right tribe, or the right community to help you achieve your goals. Remember, there's a saying in the Bible that says, iron sharpens iron. So it's about making sure that you're not working alone, and there's always support. No coaching, no mentoring, no guidance whatsoever. So that goes again with the working alone. And therefore people make mistakes. Ask me how I know, okay? Before I subscribed to, you know, getting some help, I made some silly mistakes, very silly mistakes, costly mistakes that cost me time and money. In fact, there was one, I sent out an article to my mailing list the other day, and I said, you know, how I made a £20,000 mistake. Okay, so when I'm sharing all this stuff with you, I'm sharing with you so that you don't make the same mistake. I'm sharing it with you so that you learn, not necessarily the hard way, but you know, for me, I'd rather learn from somebody who's been through it, made a mistake and found another way around it, than somebody, you know, than trying to go it alone myself. So keep that in mind, making sure that you have people to support you. Another reason, number 4, why people struggle to get to that multiple income place is the fact that there's no system to follow. So if you notice, I said earlier on, when I'm working with my clients, the first thing we try and do is understand what the concept is, the idea. For example, in a book, I'm just using a book scenario now. So what's the idea? What's the concept? And that, by the way, applies to when people come to me to start businesses or start some initiative or project or whatever. It all starts with an idea. And there is a system in place that really you need to put in place that would take you from the idea all the way down, or not down, all the way up, shall I say, to the completion, to when we have this products that you've created. Without a system, it's not going to work, okay? Until you learn what the system, when I say system, so for example, when you're writing a book, remember I shared this with you in the free book that I'm sharing with you, the links in the in what I've shown. The link's there. I've shared it earlier on. There's some things that need to be in place when you are writing. They're just, it's not negotiable. You can't say, oh no, I'm not going to do that. There are just some things. And when it's not there, remember this, consumers are very savvy these days. Consumers are savvy. And number two, consumers make buying decisions that quick based on what they see and feel. Now, if it doesn't grab them, guess what? You've just lost a sale. Number three, consumers are empowered with tools that allows them to make informed choices when it comes to purchasing. So if you notice, there's lots of places that deal with reviews. So if you're going on holiday, you look at the review of the hotel, you see what other people are saying, and so on and so forth. Now, say, for example, something like Amazon. Amazon has a feature called Search Inside. So people can actually flick through some of your books, your book content, and think, oh, okay, all right, this seems to be a good idea. I'll download it, I'll buy it. And they make decisions very quickly. And so therefore, you need to make sure that when you are putting certain things together, there just has to be a system. So for example, I remember when somebody sent me their book many years ago, and I'm using books as an example because number one, I love books. Number two, it's just the easiest thing for anybody to create and start their journey to multiple incomes. You know, somebody created a book, there was no table of contents, some of the chapter headings were missing. There's actually somebody who sent me a book whereby the chapter headings were like sentences. In fact, they went over 2 lines. I'm like, oh, okay. So what I'm saying is there is always a system. Now, if anybody's interested, just get in contact with me and I can support you on that particular journey when it comes to, you know, creating content and the systems. In fact, there's going to be online training available, as well as some webinars that I'm going to be running very soon. So by all means, connect with me. And one of the best ways to do is when you download the book, you then join my network and you'll get lots and lots of valuable content that you can actually implement immediately. So if that's something that you want to do, by all means, do that. Okay, so other reasons why you may not necessarily be moving forward: following too many gurus simultaneously. We've already dealt with that in terms of unsubscribe and just focus on 1 or 2. You're consuming, not producing. Remember, it's about flipping that the other way around and looking at about what you can start to produce using what's in your hands already. Okay, so last but not the least, in terms of moving you forward, here's what I suggest. And number one, thank you so much, those who are watching, who are listening, who are partaking. Thank you so much. First thing I would suggest you do is, if you're wanting to create content, no matter what your area of expertise is or your passion is or whatever it is that you're bringing to the table, start with an ebook. I'm always looking to add more value to the people that I work with. And I know, because I get lots and lots of questions, but as I said, I get questioned just yesterday on LinkedIn, and constantly I was at a speaking engagement on Saturday, and again questions on writing and some of the other things that I'm doing. And so I'm now realizing, God, I need to create more content, because there's only one me, and I really want to, and in fact, that's another point. One of the brilliant things about a book is that your book will always go further than you'll ever be able to reach. Now, you might be saying, oh, I plan to jet set. That's great. But, I've had emails from ladies who I don't even know who'd say, I was in a South African airport and I picked up your book and I'm reading it. I'm like, whoa. Somebody would say from Australia, definitely loads from America and India. And so it's just, in fact, somebody just, other purchases recently from the Philippines, and you're like, yay. See, your book will always go further, and that's why it's the starting point for me. So that ecosystem that I talked about earlier on, the first starting point is literally the book. Whether it be free, but I'll encourage you to get cracking with writing something that you have an expertise on or a passion for, and then look at translating that into a book that can generate you income. Now, the benefits of that is so multifold. so multifold. From there, the chances are, the moment you call yourself an author, you've got a book out there, speaking engagements, people will ask you to come and do training programs on your subject. People will ask you to come and do retreats and consultancy work and training in different sectors. Endless. It's endless. And that's literally how you start to create your own ecosystem. So I'm hoping that what I've shared with you today has been of value. Remember that keyword, value. I'm hoping it's been of value to you. As I said, you can connect with me on my website. I'll share the link again of the book Writing Secrets. I would say it's an absolute must. It's free of charge. Download it. Just get it and start your journey, to creating content. And I shall be doing some other events as well. Some of them will be Facebook Lives, but to be honest, I have a group of my inner circle of women. So there's going to be some webinars, there's going to be some training, there's going to be some online programs, podcasts, a whole load of other things that I'm investing in people in my inner circle, because I realize I can't help everybody, but I'm helping the ones who are in my network. So if that's something that you want to do, by all means connect with me. You can also subscribe. So when I'm doing a Facebook Live, subscribe so that you can always get notifications that I'm doing the Facebook Lives. And also find me on social media. So at Grace the Author. You find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. So I'm hoping that that's been of value to you. If anything, the take-home message is moving away from being a consumer to becoming a creator or a producer, and then becoming a person of value, so that you exchange your value for income, multiple income, because people would then acknowledge you as somebody of influence or value, and they will pay for value, especially around solutions. So I'm hoping that's been of support to you. If you have any questions, by all means, send in the questions, and looking forward to seeing you in my inner circle. Till then, keep creating, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.